What?
What's happening, man? How you doing?
What up, man? I'm good, brother. How you feeling?
Man, I feel good. We late, like a regular Sunday
This isn't
night
even
service.
late. This doesn't even qualify as late anymore. We're here, and you just be glad that we woke up after anytime a preacher can wake up and do anything in the evening after a sermon is a miracle. So
I was so good in sleep, man. If my son wouldn't have woke me up, he's like, I think it's time for y'all to go. I was like, how you know?
They made plans.
They had made plans.
They made plans.
It was him.
Our sons made plans on the video games to be here. They're probably having a whole nother podcast downstairs called Fortnite Incorrect or whatever. Hey, Sister KK, doing? How you doing? Welcome to Religiously Incorrect
Bless
Podcast.
Y'all. Good to see y'all. We are brought to you this morning by...
This evening. That's that sleepy preacher, brother.
The African American Community Fund. The African American Community Fund, established in 2020 at the Foundation for Appalachian, Ohio, supports Black-led and Black serving. Black.
That's a
serving
two-syllable
and
word.
Black-led organizations throughout the 32 counties of Appalachian, Ohio, to elevate the quality of life and address disparities in African American communities. Check them out at www.appalachianohio.org or call them at 740-753-1111. Black-led.
Black.
That's it.
How you doing, Rashad? Good to see you. God bless you. He sent me a hilarious video that it was one of a guy that we're familiar with. Remember the cussing preacher? The big guy that would just talk about how he likes to cuss and all, man. It was a whole podcast of cussing preachers. It was hilarious. It was like a CNN of cussing preachers talking about craziness. If we weren't such a family-oriented show, we would put it on our podcast.
Well, send it to me. I can watch it.
Send it to Pastor Jeff.
I can laugh by myself.
Oh, man. What's popping, man? So, did you get picked for Trump jury duty, Pastor Jeff?
Yeah, I walked off, though.
You walked?
I couldn't be biased.
Who? You mean unbiased?
Unbiased, excuse me.
Unbiased? Yeah. It's impossible.
Who doesn't know... the orange man.
It's a gift and a curse, bruh.
Who doesn't know
They had 96 people the first day, the very first day of jury selection. They had 96 people. And the judge said, if there are any of you who feel like you cannot be biased in this trial, you can go ahead and get up and leave. And over half of the people just got up and left immediately. Put the finger up.
We should use that.
We should. What did they do? When they asked if they could be unbiased, this is what they did. This was every juror.
Excuse me.
This was every juror.
It doesn't look like they all clapping for him.
They all clapping for him. Man, I mean, so apparently they did find 12 jurors and alternates. And somehow it ended up going really quick after they had that initial, because I guess they had 500 people total in this pool of jurors. And Elder Carter,
good morning.
I wouldn't want to be Donald Trump, because one of the most surreal moments was when they go through the jury selection. They were actually reading the juror's social media posts about Trump in front of him.
He okay?
Well, they said he was frowning at some of them.
Somebody said he was looking asleep.
Yeah, they said he fell asleep twice. He said he fell asleep twice. But you're right. They don't want to be part of that circus. And I guess some jurors got outed already. Like one lady got selected and then she quit, because the reporters' descriptions of them, they're not supposed to reveal them, but they talk so much about their occupation and what they did that people immediately started texting them and was like, hey, I heard you're a juror. So they did that. But it's just hilarious how the gift and curse of being the most well-known and polarizing person in America.
On the jury. Black people love me. They all love me. The blacks love me.
The blacks.
The blacks love me.
The blacks, they appreciate me.
Read Negro.
Who doesn't? So there was one person who said that they had read 2 or 3 of his books, and they said he was smiling and really happy that somebody had read his books. The Art of the Deal and something else. So I mean, it was
the art
just
of filing bankruptcy.
The art of filing bankruptcy 9 times and still keeping your businesses. So I mean, there's no way in the world that this is not going to continue to have a lot of issues going forward with the jurors, not to mention.
And I
the
think
witnesses.
everybody they did pick, I mean, they still, unless you're living under a rock somewhere,
they're biased.
they're biased.
Did you hear it? It's funny because I went back and watched in the light of OJ dying, and I went back and watched the Made in America 30 for 30, the ESPN. I never watched it when it first came out, so I just watched the parts I was interested in. And they said that one of the guys they found out afterwards that acquitted him was a Black Panther. And he had just like played it off.
Well, I mean, I think at this point,
and then the other lady was like, yeah, this was payback for Rodney King.
at this point, how many jurors do they have?
They have 12 jurors and 6 alternates.
So you just get 6 Black Panthers and 6 Ku Klux Klan. And
you know what?
I mean,
that
at this
actually
point,
might,
because everybody know it's just, you might as well do it. Or 6 Republicans. Well,
no, that's not going to work because remember his whole point is to get
jury.
You have a hung jury, and that he basically wins.
Right,
Yeah.
you get all
Because all you need is half of them to. Just one of them, really. Just one, really. But if you have half, that's a guarantee. But I mean, it is going to get to the point, and this is going to be the other side of our mass media world. You know that.
Hey,
Can
Sister
anything
Carletta,
be
how are
fair?
you?
Can anything be fair when your whole life is lived out on Facebook and people have proof of things you said and did? Even when I heard a comedian talk about like even when you're in high school, like in college and the crazy stuff you email and text each other. He's like, if I got subpoenaed right now, I just unalive myself. Like if I got for the stuff that I text and I know things I've said, you know, the stuff you say to people when you're young and crazy.
And y'all just be careful because listen, these phones right here, you can be having a conversation and recording the entire conversation.
Oh, they already own
You
it.
have no idea
our
what people are
phones.
recording for.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody, friends ain't friends nowadays. They will put your stuff on blast.
No, they're not your friends
They
at
will
all.
put your stuff on blast.
Yeah, I mean,
just
but
be careful what y'all say. Know who y'all saying it to.
But this is going to be the most entertaining case of them all because it involves the porn star who is going to have to prove that they actually had relations. And what are the details she's going to have to share to prove? You know, it's going to get deep.
It's going to get deep.
It's going to get deep. And he won't stop talking about the people on what's the site he has?
His
Truth Social.
Truth Social.
Truth Social. Yeah.
Truth
Which
Social.
is tanking, by the way.
Which is tanking, by the way.
Yeah,
So they
stock is
gypped all
tanking.
these people with the stock offering. They went public, and everybody bought this stock on a platform that barely has like a few million users, and the only advertisers is like the My Pillow guy, and you know all these crazy people that would never advertise anywhere else, and now this stock is just tanked.
Right.
But I mean, it's just going to be a circus. But you know what? We need some lighthearted fare. I mean, this man is locked up in a courtroom. You know what I hope? I hope it's dragged out for a long time because he has to show up.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's the only good thing is that, well, if you're against him, the only good thing is that he has to show up.
Right.
He can't not be there.
Well, in other news, we are kind of, I don't know if you want to call it saddened or, you know, I was very happy when I heard the decision for Dr. Reverend Freddie Haynes to take over the Rainbow Push Coalition. And I think that happened around January. And to take over for the esteemed Reverend Jesse Jackson, who is sick and incapacitated right now.
He's been sick for like 20 years, to be honest.
But, you know, it was just made mention, I think 2 days ago, that he has actually stepped down as the...
Dr. Haynes stepped down. Right after getting installed.
Yes.
And they did a whole ceremony and everything.
Yeah, about 4 months. He's been there. He's been in there about 4 months, and he has already stepped down, which leads to much conversation on, you know, succession. And what happens in these succession plans, and what happens when you try to take over for somebody who has actually founded and made and was the face of an organization that was that big and was that
Jesse was treating
branded.
Rainbow Push like a person founds a church.
Right.
Which I guess is appropriate because he never had a church. I don't think he was ever actually the pastor of any church.
I don't know.
For any length of time. I think he was just like a minister.
Okay.
You know, he took the Dr. King model to the extreme. I mean, Dr. King at least pastored for a while.
Right,
and then,
right.
You know, but he did the Rainbow Push thing. And then, how you doing, Sister Vera? And I'll be honest, Pastor Jeff, let me just start with this. I don't know of anything that Rainbow Push has ever done of significance besides just kind of add their voice to the same issues that every other organization.
And I think that is the one.
I don't think a lot of people even know.
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't heard of them until Freddie Haynes. You know, I'm a stern follower of Freddie Haynes.
Right.
And so
right.
when I heard he took it over, I'm like, all right, maybe they'll come back out, you know, because I mean, obviously back in the day when he first came, you know, they were doing some things.
What?
I mean, it was organizing, like every other organizing. It's every other.
All I remember is they would have these Saturday morning broadcasts that would come on, I think, like Saturday mornings, and it was like a church service, but not in a church. And they had this really, y'all excuse me, it's religious. It was like a really whack community choir, like just a whack community choir singing an upbeat version of "We Shall Overcome." And that's all I remember is they were doing an upbeat version of "We Shall Overcome," and it was always bad. And I just always turned it off. Like I had no interest. Like, what are they showing up for?
I mean, you have. I mean, I know a lot of people don't follow these type of organizations now, especially community organizing, organizations. But there are several of them throughout the United States who are doing good work behind. Well, I'm not going to say behind the scenes, but they're just not as big name. Obviously we can talk about what Action is doing here in Ohio and, what Penn is doing in Pittsburgh and things of that nature. But there are a lot of organizations, but
he has a prominent name.
Right. He has a prominent name.
I don't think anybody can name what they've done.
Right.
So I think Freddie Haynes coming in would have been the greatest thing that could have happened to the Rainbow Push Coalition. And it could have been a model for other organizations that some star power and some existing clout could do a lot for organizations, not to take away from the natural progression that people have been working diligently and faithfully within organizations. But at that level, national stage, plus somebody else made the comment, Dr. Haynes being based out of Dallas, he could have expanded the reach because Rainbow Push was a Chicago outfit. And, Texas, especially for black folk, is where it's at. There's a lot of movement, a lot of power, down there, and that he could have expanded that out. Now, I'm hearing you really wasn't, they say that he didn't want to give it up. I'm hearing the family did not want to give up control. Right. And there were still influences around like loyalists that didn't want to give up.
Yeah, according to Roland Martin, it was the family, like you said, but it was also that the Rainbow Push Coalition was not as financially stable.
I was about to say
as many people.
They were broke.
I didn't want to say broke.
Well, I'm just saying. Okay, but here's my thing though. What advocacy group isn't? I feel like it comes with the territory. Dr. King was technically broke. I mean, so you put on a certain, facade of success. You have a slick website. You put on these conventions and all, but none of us are swimming in money if you're doing, and maybe you shouldn't be. If you're a true advocacy and activist organization, should you actually be? But I think he might have run into some actual, not just brokenness, but the system is broken.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like questions, and I've run into this, Lord knows locally, when I join some organizations and you come in the door asking too many questions. Well, how are the finances doing? Why don't we have this? What's the plan?
Right.
Who's in charge of this? Who is accounting for these things? Why is this person the treasurer if they're not maybe qualified?
Freddie Haynes asks every one of those questions.
He should.
I mean, this guy.
If you've had a successful church and you have, and you know what it's like to run an organization, so it's one thing, and it's perfect, Elder Cardi. We're supposed to spend out what we have, but we're supposed to have financial solvency and stability and integrity, and perhaps, not to cast aspersions, but it is not uncommon for people to walk into situations. There's no such thing as being late for Sunday night service, Reverend Glenn. We were late for our own service.
Right, we were late.
We were late for our own service. So I mean,
You good, Doc.
You good, bro. We on our third devotional song.
And Sunday night, sir, we just glad you showed up.
Just glad you
I don't
showed
care
up.
if you come at the benediction. Hey,
Right. So even if we're broke, I think that what we run into in a lot of organizations, and as people walk into churches and find out, is that the system or the people in charge will not allow it for it to be fixed.
Right.
And that can be a problem. And that's going to be, we've talked about it. We're going to talk about it a little bit tonight with denominational participation, particularly. We've talked about, standing and are they still relevant? We're going to talk about participation.
Right.
In particular, it's not uncommon for especially people who are talented, who are professionals, who are diligent and very particular about how they do business, to walk into often community or advocacy or urban organizations and see that they are run like a lot of people run their households, and they're run by the seat of their pants, and they're like, I'm not, unless you're willing to do this in a more excellent manner, I don't want my name wrapped up in this, because we just an email or a news article away from everybody being embarrassed.
That's it.
And I think he knows that he can do just as much.
And he has already. He's already been doing.
He has.
And so I think that's the reason they chose him. And they thought he could bring some of his ideas and some of his.
So do we need these power brokers, prominent figures in these positions? Or, as he said, do they need the Jamal Bryants of the world, the Freddie Haynes of the world, the bigger names, the Howard John Wesleys of the world? Are they better served by working independently and not in some ways overshadowing or, the organizations becoming kind of in their image? Is it better for people who do organize, or does it still merit the star power?
I think it should. You do need it. And I think it should merit and it should change. I don't think that, especially when you're talking about succession, if Jesse Jackson and his family are going to give it up, they need to allow Freddie Haynes to have complete control. He needs to have, say, this is how we're going to run this organization, because obviously when you were running it, it was non-active. It was not. Like
a lot of our institutions, and I keep saying this a lot, we got to stop asking the people that are in the network and the bubble of the institutions or adjacent to them about their validity and their relevancy. Go out in the street and ask the average person.
Right.
Go outside the gas station and ask the guy standing outside. Go, and just ask everyday people, whether it's local organizations or, because we've had it locally, and it's not to bash, but there have been times when I have brought up to especially young adults, millennials, and be like, yeah, I'm working with, and I'd say XYZ organization. They'd be like, I didn't know that existed.
Right.
But if you ask them and the people that go to their banquets every year, or they're the greatest things since sliced bread, and we've been changing the world and we've been advocating for everybody. And I'm not saying that you have to be known, but perhaps there's a shifting of the model, and this can go with churches too, or denominations we're going to talk about later, where because we live, as I keep saying, in an attention economy, it helps to have a person that can get attention where it's needed, especially when so many people are fighting for attention and for the eyeballs and ears of the public. And I don't know who they're going to appoint now that would matter. Or if it gets out as a bad, and this is the other part of the aspect, we'll get off of this. When a person like this makes an announcement like that, does it scare other good people off because people talk? Or they got on the phone with him and he said, if they ask you, Doc, come on, bro, we've been there.
That happens often, y'all know.
If y'all don't know, we talk. So if one of us turns something down and have a bad experience or something, please don't think that I'm not going to be like, hey, Jeff, bruh, don't do it.
And in public, we're going to say, oh, man, it was a amicable divorce or separation. We left.
No.
Now, when you call
that text thread, on that text thread, brother, these Negroes. So, wishing the very best to Dr. Freddie Haynes, wishing the very best to the Rainbow Push Coalition, wishing the very best to the tortured souls that have to be jurors in the Trump trial.
And I'm wishing the very best to that brother that Chris Brown ate up. I'm wishing the best for him. Don't try to come back. You lost. It's over.
We're going to do religiously incorrect diss tracks next episode. Hey, y'all, it's time for Meme of the Week. Let's go.
Meme of the Week. Meme of the Week.
Welcome to Religiously Incorrect, ladies and gentlemen.
Meme of the Week. Meme of the Week.
Thank you. Send us your memes of the week.
Meme of the Week. Meme of the Week.
We are, these are all jokes. We are just playing.
All right. So this meme is a classic, and it speaks to a classic, and you would only understand this meme if you were raised in church. You have to be raised in church to understand this meme. If not, you could tune out and go get yourself a sandwich right quick. But hit it, Big Mike. Your gums' worst nightmare. Do you know, leave it up there, do you know when the church lost its power? The church lost its power when ushers stopped sticking their hands in front of people's mouths.
Stop sticking their hands. And when they really don't usher people down to their seats anymore.
No, they know
kind
better.
of just let them come in and sit with. Nah, it was ushers back in the day. Was like, no,
Sergeant. Sergeant Slaughter
come
ushers.
on down here.
Oh yeah, man. Listen, when you had that hand stuck in front of you, and the funny thing is, you never knew what direction it was coming from. You didn't even see them coming. They just stick that hand in front of you.
Yeah, you sitting right there, and it's just like.
And these people, by the way,
you already knew what to do.
You already knew what to do. And the crazy thing is, this is a pre-COVID protocol. These were the original first responders. They took all your spit and slob. They subjected themselves to biological warfare just to keep you from chewing gum in the sanctuary. Do you know what it would take to get somebody to spit gum in somebody's hand in this day and age?
Man, people be on Facebook.
Bro, that's assault.
That is a whole Me Too movement. That's a whole Me Too movement right there.
That's discrimination. Gum too. Hey man, the gum snatching. And I don't know why. I know why.
Marlon, you was a gum snatcher?
Marlon was a gum snatcher.
Oh my God.
I can see Marlon.
I think they like stewardess on the plane. They just looking like.
Right. This cat like a gum informant. He was snitching on other people in the church. And the crazy thing was, half the time the gum wasn't good anyway because it was gum your mama gave you out her purse, and it was always half a piece.
And it only lasted about.
And it had like lint on it, and and she would only give you half anyway. Mm-hmm. But that's the thing that makes me laugh about church. These are criticisms that I will agree with. What was so wrong about chewing gum?
It was just disrespectful.
It was in the bylaws.
Because
it was in the bylaws.
Because they would have to clean it up from the bottom of the bench.
That is true. That is true.
It was article number 561
section
in the bylaws. It said, "Thou shalt not be chewing gummeth in church."
Carolyn said it was Mrs. Sister Killer Brew. She put her hand in my mouth. Pulled the gum right out. Listen, I'm telling you, the church lost its power. We lost the community when we stopped sticking gloved hands in front of people's faces. That's when we lost. And they did put the gum under the seat. Because you know what? I have had the unpleasant experience of having to scrape that.
That couldn't be me.
Of having to scrape that. Yeah, Jeff has a weak stomach. He couldn't.
I threw up.
He couldn't take it.
I never had to scrape it, but I remember putting my hand under the bench and feeling
it.
You know what I mean?
Feeling it. Yeah. Yes. But gum was the thing, boy. now we in church with Starbucks, Mariah.
I'm guilty. I used
Dunkin'
to. I don't do it no more. My mom got on me.
Get everything.
One time they told me there was somebody with a whole sandwich in the back of the church. Smashing. A whole big Buford from Rallies.
We're around here trying to collect the communions, the little communions. Somebody put a whole Whopper box in there.
Wow.
What is going on here?
And we were worried about gum. Man, I'm telling you, we need to bring back the gum. I still got a few, but we have put the reins on them. And maybe that's a part of the frustration and why you can't get folk to usher no more, because they can't really usher. Ushers wanted to be ushers so that they could really do something.
Get it in.
Ushers are people that they flunked out of the police academy and got dishonorable discharge from the army.
Some flashlights.
Right. They weren't allowed to be crossing guards. It was like the next best thing.
Be an usher in the church.
I'm gonna police this church, boy.
We're gonna do a show on ushers.
We've been saying it.
McNeely slipped me a mint in the pool, but both of y'all are sat down. I'm disciplining both of y'all up there passing candy in the pulpit.
Listen, real quick before we go on, I saw Pastor Dave Hallbrook.
Yes,
man, we want to say prayers to you and your wife,
Jennifer.
man.
We're praying for her.
Yes, we are praying for her. Listen, all y'all out there, do me a favor. Y'all got to know the whole situation, but just pray for Pastor Hallbrook and his wife. His wife, what they're going through.
But he still got a sense of humor, though.
He always going to.
He said they're treating the sanctuary like the movie theater these days. Correct. Smuggling in their own snacks. Which, you know what? If you're going to do that, if we're going to do, I might as well just set up a concession stand. And maybe that's why those larger churches just set up a coffee shop. Like, you're going to do it, we're going to get paid.
Hey.
What? Hey. You know?
It might bring folk into church.
Come get this vanilla bean salvation.
If I can get an egg McMuffin on my way in.
Let me tell you something. The mothers will be gone. The mothers will be gone.
Hey,
they see you smashing on some.
Wait a minute. You can name all your food after the Bible.
Stop.
After Bible
Let's
verses.
Just stop it now.
Let me get a Psalms 121 real quick. Let me get a Psalms 121 and a Revelations. No, I don't want the Revelations. We don't want the Revelations.
Right. I need that living water right quick. Get that. I want that new wine. Oh man, yeah, we need to bring back the gum snatching ushers.
Ushers are Craig and David.
Right. We love it, man. Love you, Pastor Holbrook. Well, if you have a meme you'd like to send to us, email it to religiouslyincorrectpodcast@gmail.com.
We might use it.
There's a 20% chance we might use your meme. Listen, we have memes we don't even use. I bring in stuff all the time, and they're like, "That's whack," right. And So we talk about y'all.
Use none of mine, so don't worry about it.
You never bring none. Hey, you see that outfit he got on? That's the funniest meme I done seen. Hey, y'all, Religiously Incorrect is brought to you by the Phillips Family of businesses, starting with Phillips Care Lawn Services. Hey, the weather has finally let up. The rain has finally subsided. My grass was like a doggone jungle when I got back in town Saturday. Get to it. Call Phillips Care. They got lawn care starting at $30. Now, at this point, they ain't mowing your sidewalk for $30, but you can find out what their rates are. Call 330-219-7916. And while you're at it, check out Phillips Care Cleaning Services for residential and commercial cleaning, your spring cleaning, clean out your garage, move in, move out, wood floor upholstery, carpet, deep cleaning. If it has to do with an interior, exterior of your house, they can do it. Look up Phillips Care LLC on Facebook and support our sponsors.
And we are also brought to you by Action, the Alliance for Congregational Transformation, influencing our neighborhoods, with our executive director, Elder Rosetta Carter. Listen, we are so excited. We are having another Action Faith Leaders Breakfast. This time it will be in Mahoning County. It will be on May 6th. 2024 from 9:30 to 11 a.m. and it is at Grace Evangelistic Temple Church on 2214 Mahoning Avenue, Youngstown, Ohio. Our guest speaker will be Father Joseph Rujak. He is one of the founders of Action, also a retired father. So we're looking forward to being out there. We'll talk about core team strategies. So please come out. The Grace Evangelistic Temple, that is the Honorable Bishop Carruthers Jenkins.
That's correct.
Sir.
I'm Mahoning Avenue.
Check us out. Yes.
You said he's a retired father.
Yeah.
You can retire from being a father?
I suppose he won't preach no more.
Oh, I thought you were talking about being a dad. Like, I could get rid of them kids and collect me a pension. Because, listen, I was going to put in for early.
He's going to put in for early.
I was going to put in for early. Whatever y'all got for me, I'll take it.
I can't put in for early.
You can't put in?
I am stuck like Chuck with being a father.
When he said retired father, I said, you can do that? Boy, I've been missing out. Man, oh, man. All right, y'all. Tonight's a retired priest.
A retired priest.
God bless the retired priest. Tonight we are talking no call, no show.
No call. No. You all know what a no call show, no show is. I sure do because I've done it a couple times.
That's what most of my members do.
That is when you
basis.
don't. That is when you don't call. You don't report off. You don't show up. You are scheduled to be there.
You're just absent.
You're just absent.
You're absent from the body, but you're not present with the Lord. Is that what no call, no show is?
Basically.
Oh man, no call, no show is specifically, and we have talked about. I want to be clear. It's an ongoing theme of religiously incorrect because it's such a part of religion. Is our denominational and institutional organizations that we all participate in the church. And something that is plaguing the church at large is the lack of participation and attendance and engagement.
Right.
In not just, saying you're a part, because there are still millions of people who claim to be a part of patients in the office who claim to be a part of various denominations and institutions and fellowships, but there is a quickly declining. Here we go, Scott. Here we go. Here we go. There is an ever declining participation and attendance at these denominational efforts. And for those of you that don't know, and I get it, we're not going to have a conversation, even though we could regurgitate about the systems and the structures and the hierarchies of denominations. We're not going to relitigate that because we already
start
feel
putting them down.
But there are levels to this. You usually have a national, then you usually have like regional or state, then you have like districts that are more local. Yeah. So as an example, in the Baptist Church, we are a National Baptist Church. Second Baptist is part of the National Baptist Church in Warren. And so the National Baptist Church has a convention, and I think they have a Christian Education Congress, which is at a different time. And then at the state level, there are several state conventions that are affiliated with the National Baptist. And so you have your state convention. And then we have the Northern, as we call it, in Reverend Dr. Morris Lee, the Great Northern, of which we are a part, which spans from Sandusky down to Youngstown, Akron, Canton, Cleveland, Akron.
Which, let's not forget, you are I was
going to get to that.
Pastor Todd is the moderator.
Well, not at the Northern, no, because underneath the Northern, there's a sub-district. And the sub-district is Canton, Warren, and Youngstown, of which I am the moderator.
So if y'all hear Moderator Johnson. I need
to use that title.
It's funny because we use these titles like, the guy who does my flyers always puts overseer. So, when they're doing my installation next week and they're like, should we use overseer? What is an overseer? And because oftentimes people, regular, normal churchgoers, they just don't know what none of that stuff means. So.
And it may not have a direct affiliation. Like in your case, that may not, because it's a part of a fellowship that you're a part of. I don't know if the church is fully brought in.
No.
But that's not necessarily connected to the church you serve.
Right. And that's why I see.
Whereas like moderator is connected to the church I serve. And because we're a part specifically of the sub-district that we're in. But honestly, you got to remember at every level, there is a expectation of participation and a schedule of services. And take it from me being at the bottom of the totem pole here. I'm the third vice moderator of the Northern, the moderator of the sub-district, basically a nobody in the state or never been to a national convention. I'll talk about that in a minute. But each one of them have their own schedules and expectations of participation and attendance.
Right.
And I'll be honest, the sub-district and Northern schedule I get is mind-boggling enough. And my dear sweetheart, Sister Davy, who is our women's president for our sub-district, does a phenomenal job. She gives me that schedule, and I'm just like, man, I'm the moderator, and I couldn't tell you how I'm going to make these. And here's the dirty secret. It's religiously incorrect. Y'all forgive me. I think they already know I feel this way. You ain't no overseer. That's the Baptist deacon answer. I was waiting on him. That's what you're going to hear in the church meeting.
I have been ordained as an overseer.
You ain't overseeing me.
He's crazy.
But the schedule is mind-boggling. And to be perfectly honest, every event or service does not always appear to be amazingly appealing. And
Well,
that's
now that's it's religiously incorrect, but that's where we want to get to.
what we want to get to.
That's what we want to get to, because oftentimes
They have merit and legacy and history and tradition.
and
But
and
sometimes
like
it's
you,
so much of
like
it.
you, I literally just got the schedule of all these different events that, I'm supposed to attend. And, as the pastor, oftentimes our churches pay for us to go. They
Correct.
but yet and still, and not making any excuses, but I am a bivocational pastor.
Right.
So
With family.
with a family. And so I only have limited vacation time with, so you can't make it to all these different,
It's hard. It's hard.
whether like you said, it's the state, it's the national, it's the local, it's so many different ones. And, and so how do you, you've been to a couple of them, right?
I've been to a couple.
You've been to a couple.
I've gone to district stuff. I've gone to state stuff. I've gone to Lock Carry stuff.
So what are some of the pros and cons? Let's talk about that first. Let's start off. What are some of the pros and cons to some of these?
One of the primary pros of denominational conventions, events, annual sessions, as we call them in the Baptist Church, is the fellowship and the connection, making that connection with the broader body of Christ. And I have argued, being raised non-denominational and coming into the Baptist Church and not having the most positive view of denominations and the setup, that has been a massive blessing and benefit to my life, is coming into fellowship, seeing familiar faces of brothers and sisters doing the work like you are, in the struggle, the grind. I mean, the everyday just stress of being a pastor. And for all of us, it's a bit of a break. You get to all be a part of something a little bigger than yourselves.
Right.
It's supposed to be, which we'll get to later, something that is bigger than any one church could do. You put together the combined choirs. You get to hear preachers from all over. You get to sit down and have lunch and dinner and sit at banquets with people from all over the district, the state, the country. And I have found that wildly affirming. And if I were to speak to anything about being raised non-denominational, as blessed as my upbringing was, is that I wish I had had that sooner.
Right.
I wish I had those experiences of going. My wife got it in the Church of God in Christ. Her grandmother took her to Memphis, and you couldn't tell them nothing. And now I kind of know why. And I'm sure it was in more of a heyday. Right. And I'm sure there's a new generation having a heyday of their own, which is beautiful. But when you're 12 and 13 and 14, you're going into a giant stadium and it's just filled with everybody who believes like you, praises like you. And this is the time for that. As much as we talk about spreading the gospel to the world, and I preached about being a witness to everybody else, there is a time to be with your people.
Absolutely.
It's like a family reunion. And you do what you would do together with no regard for what the outside world feels like. So it doesn't matter if it's National Baptist, doesn't matter if it's the Church of God in Christ, doesn't matter if it's the PAW. I believe there's great value to the fellowship. It's international. You get to meet people from other countries, other sides of the country. You get to meet people, like for instance, when Flint's going on. And I get to sit down with my pastors from Flint, and they're giving us the real about what's really going on, and they were in the middle of it, and they can testify to it. That to me is amazing.
Absolutely.
So that's one of the big pros of it. The second pro I would say is the information and exposure you get to usually very good preaching and teaching, sessions that are often informative.
The sessions. Love the sessions.
And I'll be clear, all conventions and sessions and setups are not created equal. They're not. But often there is something for everybody to get involved with. And so I would say the connection, seeing the strength of the church, I think it just reaffirms your spirit. Because we talk about the kingdom, and as much as we beat down denominations have often represented, when they get together and come together, that's a good partial view, at least, of the kingdom, because you get to see a world much bigger and broader than yourself.
Absolutely.
Saints from all over.
Absolutely. Now you've made this real pretty and peachy.
Right.
You've made it real
That
pretty
was
and
the good
peachy.
part.
So let's go to the cons. Because I've only been to a couple of them. Mm-hmm. So, and I can tell you some of my cons of them, but what is your view of the cons of local, national, like you said, Christian of Congregation,
Congress of Christian Education. Yeah.
Christian education.
Okay. The cost, it is not cheap. And we were going to get into why people don't engage, but let's just throw it right there. The cost. You talked about being a working pastor. Mm-hmm. I am a full-time. I am blessed to serve my church full-time. I am not bivocational. Now, funny, I'm a council person and I work in some other contract initiatives that still require me to be in places. So I'm a little bit of a hybrid, but I have a lot more freedom than the average bivocational pastor. Right. I have a lot more freedom. Even that still doesn't make it easy for me to jump up and go because I'm leaving my household. Right. I was gone for 2 days. 3 if you count coming home Saturday afternoon, Thursday and Friday for Lock Carey in New Jersey for our spring conference. And I mean, I just immediately feel for my wife having to have the burden of the children by herself for those 2.5 days. I mean, getting them up for school, which is my normal thing that I do, and take them and make sure they're off and picked up and that while she's at work. And she had to handle all of that. It's a lot. So the cost financially, the cost to time and balancing that, especially for young people. Now, a lot of my older people who have the freedom, and that's who usually really makes up the bulk of the attendees, is usually older people who have the freedom to travel. Right. And probably maybe the money to pay if they make a way to do that. So often it's redundant. Sometimes you feel like you're getting the same experience every time, and redundant in a lot of ways. Well, yeah, that was one of my concerns. And like I said, don't get a chance to go to a lot of them, but often I look at them. I get the emails. I see the. No, I don't, Grover. I want to hear that. I gotta say what you saying. No, I don't too. Well, you saying you don't get. I get the emails, so I see the Facebook post, and I see. Almost every year, a lot of them bring the same people. Okay, so redundancy. Okay, so let's talk about, because there's a lot of things we can talk about redundancy on. But one of the redundancies that we run into is it feels like, and I know every generation has them, there's a circle of preachers that everybody wants to hear. Mm-hmm. And then there's a circle of leadership that by right, it's their term to be on the platforms and the dais. But there's a redundancy to the voices you're hearing and the faces you're seeing. And I don't say, because Lord knows one day I'll be that person. Heck, I'm that person at Second Baptist right now. I'm the pastor. You're going to see me. You're going to hear me. Right. So if you're the president, you worked your way up. You were selected. You were capable. And you're going to have your president's night. See you for 4 years. I'm going to see you. You're going to have president's night. You're going to have your president's night. But sometimes, and all of our denominations, I remember when I would hear my Kojic brothers and sisters say, I'm tired of hearing the Clark sisters. Right. Like they going to get in on maybe even the Kojic royalty. I'm tired of hearing, I don't know who the main people in Full Gospel are and different ones. There are some preachers in the Baptist church that I am now familiar with. And if you go to a convention, you're going to hear these voices. Leroy Elliott, you're going to hear, that's the dude that sound like a lawnmower and stuff when he, you're going to hear Tellis Chapman. You're going to hear, who is my man? He was did Aretha Franklin's. Oh yeah. I know exactly who you're talking about. I can't think of his name. Yeah, I went by his church. I went by Salem Baptist Church in Georgia, but Jasper Williams. Jasper Williams. Yes, so you have these titans, and they're deservedly so. And I get that every so often you're not going to get past the convention without hearing them. But there's a lot. Thank you. It's favoritism. It feels like there's cliques of people. They're all at the top. They've earned the status, but they never give up the stage. Well, and see, so, and I even think that may be all right. Because when you're talking about people like Jasper Williams, when you're talking about people in the Full Gospel like Paul Morton, and those guys are going to bring it. They're going to bring it. So that's the national. But when you're talking about the local, and you're bringing, such and such from Cleveland every single year, and you bring in such and such from Steubenville. Like I saw this brother at the Waffle House. Like I don't need to see him. Like, and maybe it's because the local don't have
the money that.
Well,
but
they don't. I mean, we don't.
But still, I think whatever you're paying them, you can also. I mean, because there are several pastors in this area who are worthy of a shot.
Yeah. And sometimes you're subjected to bad preaching. You know, you're subjected to bad, and I feel like there's a balance to giving someone a shot, because sometimes I look at our leaders, I'm like, this cat, this is not his stage.
Right.
He gets up knowing it. She gets up knowing it. Like, they will, I mean, the worst, I've had a few, I've sat some conventions. I mean, when the brother or sister gets up apologizing, I'm like, I'm ready to go. Okay, put my thing up. When the brother gets up apologizing, when the brother gets up talking about how intimidated they are, you already know this is about to be me. I'm not doing it. I'm out. This is me. I'm gone. Because you can tell, and again, and we're gonna talk about this in a minute, while preaching is not about performance, there should be proficiency.
Absolutely.
And if you are not able to function at this, the Pee Wee T-ball team can play on a T-ball field.
Right.
Does this make sense? They can play on a T-ball field. When you start putting them on an MLB field, on an official, you take them to the Guardian Stadium,
right.
They're not going to make it to first base.
And pitch at them?
Their pitcher's not going to make it to home plate. That's just facts. But to the other side, there's often a lot of performance and competition involved, and people just waiting for the hoop of the year and the moment. And conventions have become too much of, we're waiting on a moment to say that we had a grand time. And it can feel awfully empty.
So let's get to where we're trying to go today. Let's cut past Route 11 and 7. Let's get to where we're going.
Let's cut through the woods.
Why are the youth, not even the youth, just so many people,
millennials, our generation,
no call, no show city thing? Because I've been to a couple of.
Okay, number one,
there we go.
We're busy. I sat in a session, one of our sessions. I want to give a shout out to my brother, Reverend Trevor Buford, Union Baptist Church in Hartford, Connecticut, and he also runs a alternative ministry space called The Space, or The Place, one of them. And he's doing a beautiful thing, right? Same thing, doing a beautiful thing with millennials. But he had a millennial session that was geared towards how the church can reach millennials better in our churches, and then it turned to our convention. And it was a very good discussion, very positive, very affirming, but I must say there were probably 5 millennials there in a group out of about 30.
Wow.
Okay. And some of the answers, you could tell that there were great generational differences, because you could tell some of our older friends and brothers and sisters could not even relate to the answers. For instance, he read some answers that came from a college that he works with students about why you don't engage with the church. And one of them said the church is too capitalist. Okay? Capitalist. Now, I know this phrase because I have a 15-year-old daughter who's on TikTok who thinks she understands the world and is already in that, and they're saying all these words, But one of the older preachers immediately started talking about like offerings and money. And I had to, didn't stop me, interrupt him, but after he got done, I said, brother, that's not what they're talking about. They're literally talking about capitalism, and they're talking about young people. Again, of course, college students are always these activists, and they're talking about how it's too structured and it seems like it's built like a corporation, and there's a hierarchies and all that. So don't nobody care about you asking for money to support the ministry. That's what he was. They don't know that it costs money to run this ministry. That's not what we're getting at. We're getting at, it seems too slick. It seems too polished. It seems too corporate. All of that. So you could tell we're not even having the same conversation. But number one, millennials who are raising families, some of us are on the way to, grandchildren, there are grandparents in my generation. We are busy. We live in a busier world with much less predictable schedules and far fuller schedules. I got all 3 of my children participating in school and recreational sports and activities. Anytime I go anywhere, I'm taking time away from being with them and getting them where they need to be. Can I be honest? The economy is so out of whack that church conventions are the luxuries of luxuries. And if a millennial has to choose between a convention and a vacation, a real vacation, because a church convention is not a vacation. I don't care how y'all was raised, and I know people still who treat convocations and conventions like a family vacation. Thank you, Pastor Tatum. She just said it. For the amount of money I spent to attend, what was that?
I don't know what that was.
Somebody make a noise?
I heard it.
That was something over there on our box. If we blow up, y'all.
Sorry, y'all.
If we blow up, we're sorry.
I don't know what that was.
It was something on that box over there.
Okay.
But go
God
ahead.
bless him. The amount of money I spend to attend, I could go on a cruise and have a better experience. And you could probably go to church on a cruise. They have chapels.
Oh yeah, you got to pay for them.
You got to pay for the.
I've been on enough cruises to know,
the chapel plan.
because I tried to get them.
You got to get the chapel plan. Are we straight? Okay. Yeah, if you run, I'm running. That's all I got to say. If you
we
run,
all gonna start running.
I'm running. Y'all gonna be looking at an empty set. So it's expensive.
It is. So you just came back from Lock Carey,
Which is my favorite.
which is your favorite
Convention and
which is
organization.
crazy, because until you start going, I had never even heard of it. Now before, and I thank God, I truly thank God for Pastor Harrison, because Pastor Harrison, when I used to go there, when I would belong there, he would take us to Hampton.
Okay.
Every single,
Hampton's down.
I heard.
Hampton's down.
I heard it's
Hampton
down.
Ministers
but
Conference.
that's how I heard about Freddie Haynes. That's why I heard about a lot of these guys from going up Hampton. But you just went there, and I had never heard of it.
Right.
But and you will
camera on
admit
me, Mike.
that you
I just wanna
really
see.
believe that that's the best place ever.
I believe Lock Carey is the best.
So why don't
convention.
more people know about it?
Okay, well, to Lock Carey's discredit, the one thing, and I actually brought this up in our meeting, I said, we keep calling Lock Carey like the church's best kept secret, but we haven't come up with a way to mitigate that. One of the reasons is, and I said this to my brothers, and my brother Pastor Buford, into the room, and I've said it in some little powwows we've had. I tell my peers about Lock Carey, but I have no content to share with my peers, because again, we live in a content society. The numbers that were shared with us on Friday morning about the work Lock Carey did with the donations of our church, over $1.2, $1.3 million. Actually, they are Baptists. They're Baptists. They just really opened up to other people. There are other people involved, but it's the Lock Carey Baptist Foreign Missions Convention. That's what it is. But they didn't give me anything that I could share. They did a verbal report. I told them I need that in a flyer. Put that in an Instagram graphic. Do like those fancy infographics that these people do about the Walmart impact in the community. And that's funny, that makes me laugh, is because if these white organizations that don't really care about our communities can brag about what they do and how they dump just a small sliver of money on the black community, and Lord knows if it ever actually gets anywhere effective, if they can do that, then we need to step our game up. Secondly, we're one of the only major conventions that does not live stream publicly. And I've asked if we could have them, if we could have that fixed, because we started like an internal online registration you could watch if you registered through like a private link. I think that needs to change, because here's the other thing about denominational meetings that often don't click well with millennials, Gen Z, and of course Gen Alpha, which is the younger ones, is that they don't seem purposeful with outside of just big church.
Right.
So it's big church, but you got to remember, big church mattered in the era before big churches. There were only a few, mega churches, as we call them now. And we didn't consider them mega churches. They were just really big community churches, essentially. And so going to a convention where you could see 20,000 people or 15,000 people in one room, or 10,000 or 5,000, you can go to a church within 45 minutes of you and find that every week.
That's true. That is true.
You can go, especially if you live in a large city. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to Lock Carey, if I'm going to Atlanta to go to Lock Carey convention, there are so many black mega churches, and most of those mega churches don't normally participate in the denominational services. So why I love Lock Carey, and I'll make a clip out of this, is because it's purposeful. Everything we do is for missions. Our President's Night, which every other denomination and Reformation has a bishop's night or a president's night or an official night or whatever, and an offering or a portion of it goes to the person. Our President's Night is specifically our main missions offering. And I kid you not, some of you have seen my posts online. We in that hotel ballroom will raise $400,000 in one night just for missions.
How much you give, Doc?
$50. But our church contributes $2,500. But you add that up. That is not a dope hoodie, by the way. Block LR Fields.
Yes, sir, Doc.
You're blocked,
yes,
bro.
sir. You are welcome. You need to be on the show anyway.
Nah, man. Much love to you. But yes, Reverend Hearns exposed the churches. I was exposed to, Reverend Simon exposed me to Lock Carey. And here's what I saw. I tell this story all the time. Here's how Lock Carey captured my heart. I pulled up to the giant hotel in downtown Atlanta. My very first time, didn't know anybody, didn't know who I was going to be sitting with. I was just going to walk in there and search for Pastor Simon. That's all I was going to do was walk in there and search for Pastor Simon. I didn't know anybody there. When I walked up, I saw school buses in the turnaround, like where you drop off luggage at this giant hotel. I forget which hotel. It's the one we always had the conventions at in Atlanta. And when I got into the first night was a dinner, like they called it a fellowship feast or whatever. And it's for the Lock Careyans, all the pastors and the ministers, leaders that come. He had invited, and he would be Reverend Dr. Alan Waller, had arranged, who's a pastor of Mount Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church. He had arranged for homeless individuals and despondent individuals in the community to come and have dinner with us. And our tickets had offset the cost of their meals for the night. Now, it was just one off meal, but it wasn't for show. It wasn't some, exploitative situation. He genuinely wanted the purpose of Lock Carey and the work we do to infiltrate and be integrated into what we were doing that year. And when I walked in and saw pastors and bishops and people sitting beside, and we were all mixed in together too, I was sold. I posted a picture on Facebook that night of the room and said, I'm sold. I am a Lock Carrian forever. And then when I started going to the sessions and hearing the work they're doing, how they're protecting, we already said there's no such thing as late. We're only on our third testimony service. How they were not just sending people over to do the work, but funding the people there who know how to do the work best. Absolutely. Protecting girls from rape and being kidnapped, fresh water, building schools and churches, advocating in areas like for AIDS and HIV. That said, if there's any confession, if I have to choose, Lock Carey wins every year, every time.
Wow.
Not only will I pay my registration and happily go and spend 4 and 5 days there, but I will make sure my church gives a healthy offering to that organization.
That's awesome.
That's what matters. And so
awesome. Purpose
has to matter.
Deacon Grove was mad when he just found out about that $25,000 just now. $2,500. Y'all about to have a church meeting right now.
He saw it in the meeting.
He saw it in the meeting. No, but I do, and I appreciate that. And I just want to throw this out.
You tell me though. You have an answer.
I want to throw this out because I am part of Lifted.
You're part of.
I'm part of Lifted.
And Lifted is.
Lifted is a reformation. It is not a convention. It is not a.
What's the difference?
It's different because of what we do. It's different because of what we do.
Okay.
And the one reason I love Lifted is because, first of all, we deal with pastoring with no pressure. We deal with not having to, do what I do, having to, work. And Lord's willing, within next year or the next 2 years, I won't be working anymore. God is making a way that I can come off the job. But the one thing that really got me about Lifted was that they don't take up any offerings. No offerings at all. I've never been to a place that didn't take up
not
offerings.
all, even to offset expenses or nothing like that?
Not to offset expenses, nothing.
The gospel ain't cheap.
But I mean, and that's just something so, and honestly, I've been down there where they've given away so much.
Wow.
Giving away and help people out. And the one time
Are they
I was
helping member churches or
member
are they just
churches,
helping
member
the community?
churches,
Okay,
member
so they're
churches,
okay.
member churches. And so what they stand for, and it's still young. It's still in its infantry
So what you're
stage.
saying, just so they can understand, because I want you to unpack that more, they stand for being a support system for churches and to help to envision more effective ministry for pastors and churches.
Absolutely.
I got you.
Absolutely.
I got you.
And, and so, and it's still in its infancy stage.
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting, and I believe it's going to grow. I believe it's going to do great things. But, and I've also been to the Full Gospel.
Okay.
And the Full Gospel, now, I went there several years. And it's great,
He said that they ain't taking up an offering. Keep your antennas up.
Well, see, I think that's the problem. That's the problem, that we're so used to doing that.
You don't know what to do with yourself.
You don't know what to do when you don't do it. You know what I mean?
I get
now, everybody who's a part does have, you
have to give something.
Just like in any other.
You have assessments.
You have assessments. And that's what we run the organization off. And
if you don't pay your assessment.
Well,
they're coming after your assessment.
But no, I'm not just trying to take up for Lifted because I'm part of it, but I've seen where, matter of fact, when I was buying my house, and he said, "Don't worry about your assessment."
Gotcha.
One of my bishops said, "Don't worry, you're still part, you're still, and so."
That ain't me. That ain't this moderator. This moderator.
What's your assessment?
Sell your house. You need to be sitting in the dark.
We want that money.
I won't listen. I got reports to make.
But like I said, on that national level, when I went to
Full Gospel,
it was phenomenal.
Okay.
The preaching, the just everything, the production, it was just.
But does
powerful.
newness have a tendency to settle?
Well, Full Gospel ain't new anymore.
Right, but I'm saying, so it was fresh. Do you feel like it has settled into some of the same patterns as others after 25 years? We're going on 30 years now. Would you say that sometimes those that come off as fresh and new can end up, if they're not careful, in the same ruts that some of the older ones? Because people have abandoned.
I think they can, but I think now I don't know him personally.
Right.
But I do see, is it Bishop Joseph Walker?
Bishop Joseph Walker III.
I see him. He has a clear vision.
Okay.
He has some great people around him. He obviously took over for Bishop Morton. I believe he has some great people around him. And
they have really unique focuses that I would never associate with a denominational meeting or annual theme or whatever, where they literally would have a theme. And I've watched, some of the broadcasts or seen the posts of our friends like Bishop T.J. Thomas and of course, Pastor Hurd,
absolutely.
People.
Yeah.
Their themes would be like faith, fitness, and finance.
Yeah.
Or like family, fitness, and finance. Like they're specifically, focused on building up the body of Christ and the church. And I think a lot of denominations are doing more of that, but not as explicitly as they are doing it. Like a lot of denominations will just have sessions, that might address some of that.
And it is theme central.
It's very theme.
It's theme central, and they talk about it throughout that particular week.
Right.
And it's great. It's great. And I haven't been, well, yes, I did. I went to a couple local ones, and obviously they don't got them, but it was good though. It was
so
good.
I guess, and I want to hear from some of you at home, not so much what a turnoff is and all that kind of stuff, but what do you think could help make our denominational fellowships and meetings and events more effective and attractive? And I have a few ideas. I think there needs to be a recalibration and rethinking of denominational schedules. And remember the breakdown of most denominations. I'll just speak for the Baptist Church. Remember, at every level, there is a women's department, a men's department, a youth department.
Yes,
okay?
Absolutely.
And that is in the district level. Mm-hmm. And then you're expected to participate at the state level. Mm-hmm. Oh, excuse me, let me start at the sub-district level. We have a men, women's, and we're supposed to have youth. We really don't. Then you're supposed to do it at the district level. Then you're supposed to have it at the state level. Then you're supposed to have it at the national level. And all of those are supposed to feed up. But it's next to impossible to keep that. And you end up having just a few representatives. And then there are people who are like convention lifers who just kind of love it. Lock Carey has the same setup. I know my Kojic brothers and sisters and my PAW brothers and sisters have very similar setups. And somebody has to carry that work, and there's an expectation that so many services are done, so many events are held. You have to split up these convention weeks between that. That's tough.
It is.
To keep up. So there has to be a rethinking of convention schedules considering the world that we live in. Now, money, there's not much you can do to change the economics behind getting a place big enough to hold everybody, paying registration to offset. Usually registrations are not debilitating. It's just the fact of having the money to travel and pay for a hotel for 3 to 5 days sometimes or more to go to them. Now the northern, for instance, we've gone down to 3 days.
When you go to those, your food is not included.
Oh, most times.
Your food is not included. So
most times.
You not only you have to pay to stay there, you have
gotta
to
go
eat
feed
breakfast,
yourself.
lunch, dinner.
You got to go see the same saints.
You hope you rolling with a pastor who like, I got you.
Right. And I'm not that pastor, by the way. And I've heard those stories like the pastor, like, I got you, I'm good.
Right.
And I get that now. I understand pastors trying to take off the burden. I want to give a huge shout out to Pastor Harrison, who once took care of something he wanted me to attend.
Right.
And I don't know if he wanted me to say that publicly, but I did. So, oh well. Wanted to make sure I got there. He knows what it's like. And I understand that that's a way of, your first hit is free, Doc.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But you paying after this. But can I talk about one more aspect we haven't talked about?
And just real quick, Bishop Hurd did he takes his whole, everybody who comes with him, he took them out. He took us all out to dinner. Get what you want to get. So I'm not Bishop. I'm sorry. He's not Bishop Hurd.
He's Bishop to us.
He's Overseer Hurd.
He's Bishop to us.
So, yeah.
But okay, here's one other thing. And I don't know how my Caucasian brothers and sisters fall into this, but black church convention goers have a bad reputation for how they behave in the cities they attend.
Really?
They have a bad reputation with the hotels.
Really?
Yes.
The
and
restaurants.
the restaurants.
Yeah,
Oh,
man.
wow.
I read an article on that.
Yeah. I read an article of a certain denomination that was thinking about coming to a city, and I guess they had been I'll just say with Church of God in Christ. They were talking about coming back to Memphis because they had gotten away from Memphis for a while, and somebody wrote an article like, we don't want you back.
Wow.
They say we don't want you back. And I know that's just one opinion of one person, but they were talking about rude, non-tipping saints, basically coming in, being loud, taking over. People often have
Wearing them
issues,
loud colors.
try to get over on the hotel people or not being, they don't tip. Because you go to these places, the baggage handler people, you're supposed to be super gracious, and everybody isn't. And again, it's not everybody. I'm sure all of us play a part in that, because Americans, by the way, period, are horrible travelers.
Yeah.
We are known around the world as horrible tourists and travelers wherever we go, demanding and insistent and cheap and all of that. But there are people that don't want to see the saints coming, and they're glad to see us leave.
Wow.
When they see a bunch of folk walking around coming out of these conventions with suits and then we come in and funny, we go to these summer conventions. We go to these summer conventions in Atlanta with these fur coats on.
There we go.
3.5.
And they see us coming and they be like, oh Lord.
Be 6 people in one room.
It be 6 people in one
Let me give you this $3 tip. Let me get this $3 tip. Here you go.
for a $200 bill.
You didn't order the steak, shrimp, lobster.
Right. So I wanted to see A.L.A. Johnson said we don't need AIM every year. Ooh, if these regionals are going to be active.
Where you at?
I'm at right there. A.L.A.
there.
Johnson up above Rosetta. Kojic. It says Kojic. We don't need AIM every year if these regional are going to be active. We don't need anything but Convocation General Assembly annually. We're not filling these arenas. Listen, and that's an extension of churches not feeling like they once did. Conventions aren't feeling like they once did. Travel has changed and everything is up. Dr. Wingfield said, do Congress and annual sessions together rather than having separate gatherings. Now, for those of you that don't know, in the Baptist church, you have your annual session, which is like your summer convention normally in the summer. Then you have your Congress of Christian Education, which is the educational. It's literally just a series, but they still have services and classes. Then you go to the annual session and have sessions and classes. And services at the same time. So we did that in the Northern. We know we have had it at the same time. Now, what it makes for is a very packed schedule. Because remember, these conventions are supposed to include a banquet. Right. And they're supposed to include so many day sessions. You have a morning service. You have early morning prayer that only 6 people come to. Then you have your...
They be going in at that.
They do go in, though. If you want to be blessed... people, they go in. I don't care what the convention is. The power is in the early morning prayers. It is. That I don't go to. The power is in the early morning prayers that I do not attend.
Ooh, Lord.
But they go in.
They go in.
You get saved all over again.
They go in.
Because anybody... All I'm saying is...
I just give them my name. Put me on
all
the list.
All I'm saying is, hey, Pastor Pam. One of my friends I met at Lock Carey. How you doing, Pastor Sally? I met her in New Jersey. Anybody who will fly, pay convention prices, hotel fees, just to get up at 6 a.m. to go stand in an empty auditorium and pray, that person has power. And you need them to lay hands on you. They will walk the whole stadium.
You sit in the seat that has been prayed for that morning. Yes, sir.
If you're in the right seat.
Right.
If you're in the right seat. You have the sessions. You have the day sessions, sometimes midday services. Then you have the night service. And it's a lot. It's a lot. So putting it together is a thing. Another thing I would say, besides recalibrating the schedules, is create ways of integrating the participating pastors and leaders, especially pastors. Because remember, all of us are the man or the woman where we come from. And I found it very refreshing to be a nobody. Like Carrie, I'm kind of a loner. Like, I think some of them still feeling me out. Like, who is this dude? Like, if it wasn't for Reverend Simon, Reverend Troy vouching for me, like, I'm not a killer, because I just be in there by myself in the corner. And because first of all, it's the one place I can go to that I genuinely enjoy, where I could just sit back, listen to preaching and worship, be anonymous in a way. But every preacher has the same DNA. They want to be involved. They want to serve. They want to help. And I think that even if it's just your one time saying a prayer or doing a benediction or maybe giving a testimony or introduction of some sort, if you could involve more people in that.
But here's the thing, though, Pastor Todd, because you're probably not that only loner, and you're definitely not that only one who thinks they're the man where they're at. So how do you involve everybody and every pastor who thinks
there's no way to do it every time.
Yeah, I mean,
but if you gave hope that more people were going to be involved. For instance, here's a good thing. Let's say here's a great idea that I could send to Lock. I'm an idea. You know me. Everybody knows Pastor's idea guy. All of our conventions have early. And the president does not need an entourage. No, our president does not. Reverend Dr. Gina Stewart, she'll fight you. First of all, she'll knife you. She'll do it. But here's what I say. Every convention has early registration.
Right.
What if in the early bird registration, they did like we do for some events where they said, would you be willing, if selected, to serve in one of these things? And literally list a benediction, a speaker's introduction.
Wow.
A session assistant, even if you're the session assistant, you know what I mean? Would you be willing? And then they pick from that pool of people, even if it's a lottery of sorts. I hate to call it a lottery, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so you're giving the average pastor who just attends, and it's probably not going to end up on anybody's panel, and it's probably not going to end up, on a stage, but we love to just have you get up and give the benediction or the offering prayer or whatever. But we open it up to people because, let's be honest, denominations are like networks. And honestly, if you don't know someone, so I have someone, one of these days, because I know someone, they might say, hey, let's have Reverend Johnson do this because they know me. But if I didn't get to know any of these people, I didn't have anybody to vouch for me, I'd be just another guy in the crowd to pay registration that has a name tag on and saying amen to the preacher and go home, essentially. And I know it's hard, but I think that would be an interesting way, and have them lead the AM prayers that no one is going to. I would not check that box.
Hey, you want to participate?
That's your first participation.
You want to participate?
We got to test your faithfulness.
You got to take what you can get.
Now, a lot of churches, a lot of denominations, you know what they do have, though? They have the late night services. And after the main service, they have like a 10 o'clock service.
Yes.
Or the midnight musicals, you know.
That's what Dr. Todd Hall does at the
Full Gospel.
And he kills it. And it'd be packed.
We do it in the Baptist State Baptist Convention at one of the churches. They literally have at one of the nearby churches the midnight service, and people go over there and attend. And again, it's a bit of a mixed bag depending on what you get. But I think main stage opportunities would help people to know, because the church would be so proud to see their pastor if it was just one time. When I got asked to do a sermon at Berean, that was the pride of my life in my church. I got to preach for my bishop, do a quick 5-minute something. And I know that it was so meaningful to me and my church and my family that, you know, and you become sold out. So participation, definitely, like, find a way to participate.
Ain't nobody come see you, Otis.
Ain't nobody come see me, Otis. That's the truth of the matter. Anything else you can think of that?
I mean, like, I think you said it all. You have to find some type of way. And then, you know, maybe some of these pastors, even if you have that, and I thought that was a great idea with the early registration, some of them do just come to sit.
That is true.
To get an impartation. And I think for me, that's really good. For me, as often as...
And if you come for that, you'll get that.
Right.
Let's be clear. For everybody who talks about conventions are just a show and it's just a market, and, you know, you have the vendors and you have this, which a lot of people have worked to address, the whole vendor stuff.
Right.
And, you know, if you come for a blessing...
Absolutely.
I have not had a lot carry that I did not leave in tears. First of all, the messages are genuinely encouraging to my life. I mean, I felt like Dr. Stewart was, you know, speaking directly to me last August down in Greensboro, you know, about doing the work and what she preached this time about your light shining. I mean, and God calls these leaders for a reason.
Absolutely.
They have a heart for the people. They did not come up through the ranks and just pay the right people. You know, that's not always the case. They have a genuine heart. And when they get up to speak, they are speaking as a leader and as an imparter and somebody who understands the struggle. They might be big. They might be mega, some of them. But they're a pastor and a person who's been through a lot just like us. And so they're speaking from our level to us. And that's needed. Because again, we are all, when I say the man, I don't mean like the big shot, but I'm saying the burden. We are all the burdened where we are. And I get to go somewhere. I mean, come on, every time I get up and you get up and do a service, there's 15 folk coming up with questions before we preach.
Absolutely.
You worried about who you missing.
Yep.
You don't want to miss an announcement. You know, like we critique our sermons. And when you can go somewhere and just enjoy a bomb service and a bomb sermon and no expectation, but just to, like Sonia said, soak it up, it does so much.
It does.
So much for us. Now, I'd like to share that, like I said, with Lot Carey. I'd like to share that with the what I got to get
one of the things, and I will say, one of the things that Full Gospel does, and I've been, like I said, is in order for you to get up, in order for you to make your way up, you have to go to some of these day sessions. You have to attend so many classes. And
I agree with that.
I think after so many classes, and don't quote me.
It's like a point system. They give you stars like in kindergarten.
I mean, it's some, but once you go through these classes, now you are at least qualified.
Well, that makes sense.
Teach at these.
Well, to teach, absolutely. I'm just saying to participate, but I think that would apply to participation too.
Absolutely.
Like, we're not putting you up on the stage, you know, if you're not willing to sit in a session.
Right.
Then you only want to be there, which by the way, there are so many people who I think inappropriately, and this comes from the inside, coming from the outside in, it is very obvious that there are a lot of people who live their ministry lives through the national organizations and don't have that same fervor or passion in their local work.
Wow.
There are people who will not serve in their churches, but will be a part of the international choir and want to be up where the big, to-do is going on, but don't ask me to serve on my local praise team. There are preachers who want to be known on the big stages and on committees and have a position, but do not serve their local communities whatsoever. We don't know you. We don't know. Everybody's calling you bishop in your convention or moderator or whatever, but your neighborhood doesn't know you.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so to me, that's bothersome because some of them, and I know for a fact, are going to these national meetings with a story about what they do back home, that if you ask the people back home what they do, you wouldn't get the same.
Oh, there are some trumped up resumes.
There are some trumped
up resumes.
And the existence of social media and flyers and smile, feel good pics can make somebody look like they are this, that, and the other. And one of the reasons, and I told Sister Davey and my moderator this, if you don't see me, there's a good chance I'm doing one of two things. I'm either with my family or I'm serving my community.
Absolutely.
And because we're so busy in our church serving our community, I can't promise all my Saturdays and all my summer weeks when we're an outreach church. Mm-hmm. I can't promise all of my good time and good weather days when we're an outreach church and I like to be out with the kids. I can't miss this many basketball days when I'm, being out with these and being encouraged by these other folk is wonderful. But these 30, 40 boys that come play basketball off the street with our men, I need them to see me.
Absolutely.
And so I can only give so much, but I feel confident when I do go that I am who I say I am.
Absolutely.
When I show up. If somebody thinks well of me.
If they look at your social media,
they ain't got to lie.
If they ask,
if they look
at my social media. I mean, like you said, I got 4 weeks vacation at Wheelands Hoop. I got stuff I got to do for action. I got to go
a cruise.
I got to go to these.
He's going on a cruise.
I got to go to these action trainings.
He's going on a cruise.
And I'm definitely going to do my 2 cruises. I'm going to get my 2 cruises out somehow or another.
Absolutely. but I mean, I love it. I cherish it. And again, as an outsider, I'm not burnt out on it. I'll say younger guys have said to me, and this is take it as a knock if you want to, bro, don't even bother with National Baptist. I've watched it and I'm kind of like, yeah, not to say that if I actually showed up and put my time and effort in and built the fellowship up, I'm sure it would be enriching as well. But, there are some and that's why I push Lock Carry, because I'm like, if you are burnt out on traditional denominational meetings, this is the one you would want to go to. And when they're taking bus loads to communities to serve.
I've heard that so many. And this year, I'm going to, because it's my first year, second.
You're going to go?
We know that they are part of it. And and for one, I love Pastor Harrison. I love Dr. Harrison. So I definitely want to.
But he's duly affiliated, right?
He's duly affiliated. Yeah, he does.
Doc Harrison is full gospel.
Full gospel.
National Baptist.
Now I don't know if his church is full gospel.
He's more.
I think he just is. I don't think his church is, but I can't be sure.
Church of Latter-day Saints. He's all that. Nation of Islam.
But he be doing it. I think he's the president. I think he's the president of national and of the. Yeah,
he's got stuff all over.
He's doing. He's doing.
Carter said, printing them off the internet certification. You're right. So I mean, I love it. Again, I see the value. I see the love of it. I say, everybody should find some sort of fellowship.
Absolutely.
I just think it's good to be a part. It doesn't have to be massive. I love being a Berean. If you would ask me what I am, I'm a staunch Baptist. I love being Baptist. Absolutely. I really do. I love my district and I love my sub-district. Yeah, he's going to get me. But if you ask me what I am, like in this, I'm talking about the heart part of me, like where my connections are, where my fellowship is. I'm a Lock Carrian and I'm a Berean. That's who I am. And Berean is my fellowship under Bishop Clark.
Right.
And that is multiple churches. It's not a denomination. It's just a fellowship of pastors and churches. But again, I enjoy that because it's big but small. It's small, big, big, small. You know, a couple hundred pastors come every year. You feel like family. He brings some of the top people that you would go to a stadium to see. And then you can sit down and have dinner with them afterwards.
Right.
So I'm like, I'll come. And Dr. Jamal Bryant's the preacher. We get to sit down and talk to Dr. Jamal Bryant when it's over. Most times they stick around and we can fellowship because that's his demeanor. So I'm a Berean, I'm a Lock Carrian, and I'm a proud Baptist.
Proud.
I'm not ashamed.
Proud.
I'm tired of the bashing of just having an identity and a fellowship.
I love to be Baptist.
Proud of it, and so I'm really grateful for what I've discovered. And maybe with my upbringing, being outside, the blessing was I came in looking for the right things and not getting wrapped up in the wrong things right away because I was warned off a little strongly, but in a good way, because I'm an impressionable guy. I'm a social guy. Maybe if I did get it sooner, I might have got in with some of the wrong stuff. And let's be clear, some of these folks go to these conventions and get involved in the wrong stuff.
Well,
let's be clear.
Well,
all right.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
No more needs to be said about
we
that.
don't talk about that.
But it happens, and people turn into something and go do stuff in another city they wouldn't do at home, and
Baptist to the bone.
Baptist
all
to
right.
the bone.
Yes.
Baptist born, Baptist bred, Baptist till I'm dead. I can't say that, but I don't mind the affiliation. I don't mind the identification, because I know that it comes secondary to my relationship with God. It comes secondary to my ministry, but it is good to have that fellowship and be united with millions, literally, of other like-minded believers. And, from the international to national to local, I can find people who I can connect with and relate to.
Right.
All I got to do is walk into any space in Walmart and say, "Let Jesus lead you." And listen, the Baptist will come out go over and poke his head out the toy section.
Out the toy section.
You ain't doing that right.
You ain't doing that right.
Let me show you how it's done.
But nah, man. Any other comments, questions?
Man, I
Jeff?
think it's been a great conversation, and just get involved. Get involved. Go check something out. It's a bunch of them out there. Just go to the mall. Go check them out.
World tour.
Find one.
You know how those
like.
people go to every NFL stadium, like they want to go to one game. Go to every convention if you can. You know what I'm saying? Go to the Snake Charming Church in Kentucky, and ain't nothing wrong with it.
And one of the reasons that I am so ingratiated with Lifted. Bishop Shears just called me the other day and was like, I hear you want your prelates at your installation. You don't have to come all the way from Toledo just to see me.
But they're willing to.
But they're willing, and I love that, man.
That's
I love that.
Man.
So,
Big Mike, you didn't talk about your. Did you go to any convocations or conventions or?
I went to the local, of course, and I went to a couple of the states. I never went to the national.
You never went to the national.
I never had.
They
that
couldn't
privilege.
get you.
No.
I am going to try to go to a lot. I am going to try to go next year.
So this year is Lock Carry is in Memphis, the 12th through the 15th
of what?
Of August in Memphis. The Reverend Dr. Gina M. Stewart, who is our president. This is, I believe, her last year. And so this will be her last sermon, and they usually do it in the person's hometown.
Wow.
Like, they try to do it, I think, many times I think it was just designed that way, but it went well. And, by the way, I'll mention that Pastor Wingfield in just a second. I'll make that announcement so we can celebrate Pastor Jeff before next week.
Real quick, before you make the end, I wonder, could Action do a training at the Lock Carry since Rosetta is on?
I think that might be something.
That might be something.
We've already whispered about it.
Okay.
We've already whispered about it.
Okay.
We've already whispered about it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna bring that up. So hey, I love you all. I forgot what I was gonna say. Lock Carry is in Memphis, August 12th to the 15th. I believe registration should be opening any day now. And I don't even know the hotel yet, but it's worth it. It's worth the money. Thank you, Delta Carter. It's a done deal.
It's a done deal.
It's confirmation. It's a done deal. But I promote that because I love that. Every Memphis coach running for will make it. You are spot on too. You are spot on. They know there's some Baptists with coaching credentials in there somewhere. They know it. They know it.
Oh my goodness, that is hilarious.
All right, so check this out. Pastor Jeff is being formally installed as the minister, as the pastor, as the shepherd of the Second Baptist Church of Steubenville, the Ville. Somebody said the Vial one time when they were announcing it. Cracked me up. The Ville in Steubenville, Ohio. It'll be Saturday, April 27th, this Saturday coming at 3 p.m. And I am blessed and honored to give this installation service and sermon. I almost said eulogy. I almost said eulogy for my friend, my brother, my partner, my road dog. I'm excited to share. The church and I are going to be there. I'm sure it'll be streamed live.
Absolutely.
We'll make sure that we share it to the Religiously Incorrect page so y'all can watch it.
717 Adams Street. If
717 Adams Street in Steubenville, Ohio. Hey, Mountaineer is right across the river if you want to That's our local casino and racetrack.
I think Keith Sweat gonna be down there that weekend.
Keith Sweat and Tony are in concert
Installation
that night.
is over at 3. You can be at Mountaineer by 4.
You can be there by 5:30. The buffet opens at 6. Saint's gonna be in there with suits. The church man's gonna make a detour on the way back to Warren. But I'm just proud of my brother. You have been a phenomenal servant, man. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. We have served together in the same church. We have watched each other go through transitions. Mike said you should have led with that. I should have announced that in church. If I would have announced that in church, I would have got way more people to sign up. Hey, y'all get on this van and come. Everybody get $100 in free chips. But I'm godly proud of my brother, Lady Tiffany, the children. Man, you've on a long road. Get out of here, Pastor P.O.
P.O.
Get out of here.
We're going to fire the stylist.
Stevie Wonder was a stylist.
Ain't no black and gold. Ain't no black and gold down in Steubenville either.
New edition.
There's plenty of it down there. I know it is. But hey, we'll be there. Proud of my brother. We'll be talking about it. I'm sure we'll have some jokes. By the first joke I already have is we only have a portion of our choir with us. Everybody couldn't make it. But we celebrate Pastor Jeff for all that he is doing and what he's going to do and what God's going to do through him. And he's already doing it at Second Baptist. We're already seeing that. So you got 2 co-hosts with Second Baptist. So, hey, Mike.
Get your Second Baptist.
There's a Second Baptist somewhere waiting for you. If this is your first time watching, I see some new friends. Pastor Sally, God bless you. I love you. And to all of you who are watching for the first time, please make sure you like and follow this page. We're on every single week. We call it Sunday Night Service, Religiously Incorrect Podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and then the next day we upload on all of our audio podcasts. It's not even football season, and we already getting it in. Already at it.
They just in training camp.
Bro, we got 2 new quarterbacks, man. You know you can't tell us nothing.
We done lost people. People retiring at 30 years old in Cleveland. How you retire? You just turned 30.
They just driving pickup trucks on y'all field for no reason.
Hey, listen, we want to thank all our sponsors.
Thank you, sponsors.
Thank you.
Action, Phillips Care, Appalachian Fund.
Yes, thank you all.
If you want to become
a sponsor, please do. We
give
love
us
to
your
have
money.
you. We
Email
love to
us or give us a call. Hit us up.
That's it. Hey, we love y'all. Until next time, meet us at the crossroads.
At the crossroads.
Hit the music, Mike. This is over.
Peace, y'all.
Peace out.